I'm Tia Borden with MiningIR, and beside me is Ana Gabriela, President of CTA Environmental Consultant. What does that job title mean? Elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, so I've been working in the mining industry as an environmental consultant for the last almost 23 years. Of course, I started 23 years ago as an intern before I went to university, working for the industry. But it has been an amazing job supporting really the industry, ensuring that they're complying and they're working with the highest environmental and social standards. We started as a Guatemalan company in Guatemala with mining projects. We expanded since then. We are working now in five. We have 5 offices. I'm in the office in Canada, and we have been working in 19 countries right now with the industry.
And you are the president and founder of Women in Mining in Central America. That is huge because this industry doesn't draw in a lot of women in general, but the industry is growing, and we're seeing a lot more mining women in mining in these at these conferences in general across different cities and countries. Are you seeing that it's grown over the years, or have things stayed kind of stagnant?
I think it was interesting because I saw an information that was provided recently in Canada regarding the mining industry in general. And you would think that there is a growth. I think we're more visible now, but there's not much growth.
There isn't much growth.
No. The statistics that I saw like 2 weeks ago was around 13.5%. And has been quite stable. Like there's a slight, like it's increasing, but it's really a small increase. It's not a big increase we have seen in the last years. If I think in our region where I work, Women in Mining Central America, that is Central America and the Caribbean, we have seen the same trend. You see a bit of an increase, but it's a slow increase. Of course, there's always this mining companies like one of our one of the companies that is in our region in Dominican, Barrick Pueblo Viejo. They have had incredible growth, but I think it is basically because there's from the top a clear view what they want and where they want to go, and they're really executing those steps too aggressively because they want to see a change. So 5 years ago, they had a representation of around 8% of women in their company. Now they have around 24%.
Wow.
So that's a huge jump that you don't even see in many countries. I've not seen that much in many companies either in Canada. So it's a huge progress, but it required bold steps and moving forward and knowing. And it's super interesting because the 2 leaders that are on top of their organization right now, that company, are 2 females. So I think, having Mark Bristow, of course, supporting that idea and pushing forward the initiatives that they're moving forward. So I think everything comes from the top and it trickles down.
So that's one example of growth, but why do you think overall we're just not seeing that steady growth across the board? Why are more women not involved?
I think there's several lines. One of them, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about is the lack of interest of not just of women, but in general of the youth to get into the industry. I think there's the youth comes right now more, thinking more about the environment and really not understanding sometimes how that is not choosing between mining and or the environment. So I think there's this disconnect.
Just a lack of knowledge and exposure, maybe.
Yeah. So I think people are not interested in the industry because of that. And then I think also in the case of women, a lot of the careers in the industry are STEM careers, engineering, science, mathematics. And I think as women, we have thought that we are not part of that, of that studies, that we should be maybe a lawyers or so, and it's interesting too, when we think about the representation of women in the industry, you have a lot of women that are in those roles, administrative roles, but few women that are in the technical roles. So I think when we're talking about representation of women as well, we don't want just to want more numbers, but we want those numbers to reflect also the technical side of increase. We want more women and the technical roles. So I think that is an important piece of that as well.
And what do you think would prompt women shifting into those roles?
I think we have to change perceptions. I think as women, sometimes we think, and I think as my personal experience, when I was going to go to university, I went to an engineering faculty the first time, and I remember in Guatemala. And I remember I entered the halls and all the men came out. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to study here. This is just
It's
men.
intimidating.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
intimidating. So I think that has something to do with it as well. But then I think in our society, in our Latino society, we have thought we have to be their nurturers. We have to be, so we have taken certain roles and not thought of all these other possibilities that we have. And I think part of the work that we're doing in Women in Mining Central America is exposing them and making them dream that they can be part of the industry.
Now we're going to jump into something exciting. Based on everything we just said, you have taken on a project
Yeah.
to kind of eliminate maybe some of these issues and give more exposure to youth and women. And tell us about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so when I started Women in Mining Central America, one of the first initiatives I started was Kids Mineralogist Club. And the idea is to do those exact two things. One is to change the perception of mining, and two, give the kids an opportunity to know about the industry, to know, about minerals and of engineering degrees and, everything that's surrounding the industry. And when I worked with that, one of the things we saw is that there was not much literature about mining and for kids, specifically for kids. That was the target group that we were working on since the beginning, kids of 8 to 13 years old. So I got excited and I wrote a book, Ana's
That's
Adventures at the Mine.
amazing.
I wrote it in Spanish because that's almost my mother tongue. I grew up speaking German, but my first big language after that it was Spanish. So I wrote it in Spanish. It's now available in 4 languages on Amazon.
Wow.
I published it 2.5 months ago. And the first week we hit 38 Amazon bestseller lists.
Congratulations.
So
That's huge.
yeah, that was impressive. And I think was also exciting because a lot of moms that work in the industry wanted to share whatever they're doing in the industry with their kids. So they saw it as a tool to educate their kids about the job they were doing. So that was super interesting. They were the ones, and the readers when they saw the book, that this is the Spanish version of the book when it came out, they were the ones saying to me, I would love to see this in English. I would love to see this in Arab. We would love to see this in French and Portuguese. So they are the ones, companies got in contact with me and supported us with the translations.
That's so amazing.
So-
It's beautiful. Great
so,
job.
So we have the book now available in English with the support of Lundin Group of Companies, and Arab with the support of the Saudi government. We have it available in Portuguese with the support of IBRAM, is the Brazilian Chamber of Mines. And we're hoping to get a French version out as well soon as well, but still
That's
getting there.
Very exciting. And it's available on Amazon.
It's available on Amazon in the United States. It's also available in Barnes and Nobles and in other places. Yeah, in other bookstores. But the interesting part of this as well is that the characters are all real characters. So I'm Ana, of course.
I love that.
This is,
It looks like you.
This is my dog, Juana Barceló, the president of Barrick Pueblo Viejo. Because I've been working with Women Mining and with her organization so much, she's one of the friends of Ana that goes into the adventure, a CEO from South Africa. So I have women from around the world because we want us to show that as well. In our industry, we're so rich in cultures. When you go to a mine site, normally you don't find one country represented, but you have a mix from all over the world. I think that's the beauty
Yeah.
of it as well.
It is. Maybe we'll see this in schools in geology class.
Yeah, I'm
you're-
hoping that as well.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful book, and I think you're right. It's just the exposure
Yeah.
and awareness for youth so that they take interest in the industry. It's a massive industry globally. So just giving them the exposure and kids love rocks. Like
Yeah.
they will get excited about it if
Yeah.
they're exposed to it.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was here in London a month ago and I heard a conversation of professors from university talking that they're closing careers of mining because there's not enough students getting in.
Wow.
So you see that there's, and you hear it in the press as well. We have, I think they call it like a lot of massive flow of people with gray hair in the industry, right? we have a lot of older people getting out of the industry and not enough people being able to replace that. So I think we need to work since the beginning, because I think like, when we were younger, a lot of them, you define a path that you want since you're young. Okay, I want to dream of being, astronaut or whatever it is, since you're young. And normally you follow that path as well, because that's what you have been exposed to.
Yeah.
So it's important that we expose the kids since they're young to even dream about the possibility of
working in
the
mining.
industry. Yeah.
You're doing some incredible work, and I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us and explaining, the projects that you're currently working on and what you're trying to do for the industry from a female standpoint. You're really doing wonderful things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana, so much for joining us.
Thank you.